Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Quote of the day. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, knowledge from which no benefit is derived is like a treasure out of which nothing is spent in the cause of Allah. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Dr. Nabeela Umar, and today I'm going to present the topic SPSS data entry under the kind supervision of Professor Dr. Saida Afzal. Learning outline. Introduction to SPSS, types of variables, windows of SPSS, data entry process, levels of measurement, recent updates, and at the end, multiple choice questions. Learning outcome. By the end of this presentation, participants will be able to understand and describe the windows of SPSS, the process of data entry, its use, and the easy handling of the software. Introduction. SPSS stands for Statistical Package for the Social Sciences. It is a comprehensive and flexible statistical analysis and data management solution. It is a computer program used for survey authoring and deployment, data mining, text analytics, statistical analysis, and collaboration and deployment. SPSS can take data from almost any type of file and use them to generate tabulated reports, charts and plots of distribution and trends, descriptive statistics, and conduct complex statistical analysis. Now, why we use SPSS? We mostly use SPSS for the data entry and from where the data is collected. We usually collect the data for research purposes. Now, what is a research? Research is one which defines the problem areas. It identifies specifically the problems which need to be studied and resolved. It gathers information, analyzes data, and determines the factors associated with the problem. Solve the problem by taking the necessary corrective measures. Now, research is of two types. It can be qualitative and it can be quantitative. The qualitative research is concerned with understanding human behavior from the informative perspective. It assumes a dynamic and negotiated reality. The data is collected through participant observation and interviews, and the data is analyzed with themes from descriptions by informantants. Data is reported in the language of the informant. While the quantitative research is concerned with discovering facts about social phenomena, it assumes a fixed and measurable reality. The data is collected through measuring things, and the data is analyzed through numerical comparison and statistical inferences. The data is reported through statistical analysis. Now, what is the research process? The research process, whenever we are going to start a research, first we're going to define the problem. Then we'll have some research objective. We'll conduct a field research, we'll construct a questionnaire, and after constructing a questionnaire, we'll collect and analyze the data. And after analyzing the data, we'll write and present the final research report. Now, how are we going to enter the data in SPSS? SPSS is the most simple and easy to handle software for the data entry and the data analysis. There are different windows of SPSS. Number one is the data editor. It is a spreadsheet in which we define the variables and enter the data. Each row corresponds to a case, while each column represents a variable. The second window is the Output Navigator. The Output Navigator window displays the statistical results, tables, and charts from the analysis you performed. An Output Navigator window opens automatically when you run a procedure that generates the output. The Pivot Table Editor.
Please thoda sa slow.
Output displayed in pivot tables can be modified in many ways with the Pivot Table Editor. You can edit the text, swap the data in rows and columns. The Chart Editor. It can modify and save high-resolution charts and plots by invoking the Chart Editor. Text Output Editor. This text output, the text output which is not displayed in a pivot table, it can be modified in the Text Output Editor. You can edit the output and change font characteristics, for example, type, style, color, size. And the last window of SPSS is the Syntax Editor. It can paste your dialog box selection into a syntax editor window where your selection appears in the form of command syntax. While dealing with SPSS, we mostly deal with the data editor and the Output Navigator window. The first window is the data editor. The data editor comprises two screens. Number one is the data view and the other is the variable view. To move between the two windows, we use the View tab tab at the bottom of the screen, or we can also use the shortcut Control+T. Or we can view the variable view from the data view window, or view the data from the variable view window. What is the data view? The data view window consists of rows and columns. The rows represent the cases or observation, that is, the objects on which data has been collected. For example, rows represent the contents of a single treatment data collection form, the information on an individual, whereas the columns represent the variables or characteristics of the object of interest. For example, each column contains the answers to the question on the treatment data collected from age, gender, primary drug of use, etc. This is the data editor window of SPSS. It consists of two views. You can see at the bottom of the screen, this is the data view, and the second one is the variable view. Each data and variable view consists of rows and columns. The vertical boxes are the rows and the horizontal boxes are the columns. Rows represent the cases and the columns represent the variables. By clicking on the left side bottom of the screen, you can view the variable view. This is the data view, and this is the variable view of the SPSS window. The second window of SPSS is the output navigator. Whenever you are going to perform any procedure in SPSS or any command, the output navigator will automatically generate the tables and charts. And this is how you can see the result of your analysis. Translating the questionnaire into SPSS. Questions in the questionnaires are mapped into variables in the SPSS. After you have collected the data from the participants, you are going to enter the data into SPSS. Now the data is entered in SPSS in the form of variables, which could be in the form of question response formats, scale characteristics, or level of measurements. What is question response formats? The questions you have collected can be in the form of close-ended, open-ended with numerical response, open-ended with text response, or it can be multiple response questions. The first one is the response format questions, which can be close-ended. For example, you are going to ask, how is your satisfaction with the customer service of the staff? It can be either excellent, good, bad, or very bad. Then you are going to code the answers in the form of numbers. The 1 will represent excellent, 2 will represent good, 3 will represent bad, and 4 will represent very bad. Second form of question is the open-ended with numerical response. For example, you are going to ask, what is your average expenditure in the restaurant on a weekly basis? The answer will be in the form of number. It can be either 1,000 rupees per week. It can be either 10,000 rupees per week. The answer will be in the form of numeric. The second example is, for example, for how many years have you been registered as a student at Punjab University? Again, the answer will be in the form of a number. It can be 10 years, it can be 12 years, it can be 15 years. The third type of question is the open-ended with a text response. For example, you're going to ask a question, I would like to have the assortment extended with the following products. The answer will be in the form of text, but the text will be processed by coding manually afterwards or typing the answers literally the text variable. Now coming toward the data entry process, how are you going to enter the data into SPSS? First, you are going to define your variables in the variable view, and then you are going to enter the data, the values of the variable in the data view. In the variable view, you can define the variables in the form of 10 characteristics, which are name, values, type, missing, width, column, decimals, align, label, or measure. This is the variable view of the SPSS window. As you can see, there are rows and there are columns, and the 10 characteristics are defined on the top of the window, which include the name, type, width, decimals, label, values, missing, columns, align, and measure. Now, what do you mean by name? Each variable must have a unique name of not more than 8 characters and starting with a letter. Try to give meaningful variable names, describing the characteristics, for example, age. And once you have given a variable a name, you have to keep the names consistent across the file. As you can see, the first characteristic in the variable view is the name. The name could be the name of the person, or it can be any characteristic related to your data. For example, you can enter age as a name in this column. The second one is the type. The type of variables can be of two types, internal formats and the output formats. The internal formats consist of numeric, string, and date. Numeric are the numeric measurements, for example, age, weight, height, or different codes. The string variable are the alphanumeric variables, which contain the words or characters that hold 0 or more characters, such as letters, number, spaces, commas, and many more. The second type is the output format. It could include the comma, dot, custom currency, scientific notation, or the dollar. For example, you have to create two variables. One is the ID of a person, which is a unique identifier, which will be alphanumeric with a maximum of 8 characters. The second variable which you want to enter in SPSS is the age. The age of the respondent measured in years, a discrete variable ranging between 10 and 100. This is how you're going to enter your variables in the variable view. The name you will given, the two variables are the ID of the person and the second is the age of the person. The type is the type with decimal label you are going to define according to the variable. For example, ID is a string variable. This is not a numeric variable. By clicking on the right side of the numeric, a box will appear, which you can see. From this box, you will select the required or corresponding variable type. For example, ID has the type of string. It has 8 characters. You will click the string. The second variable is the age, which is a numeric type of variable. So you will click numeric. This is how the type of your variable is changed in the variable view. The ID has a string type of variable and the age has numeric type of variable. This next is the labels. These are the descriptives for the variables and it has maximum 255 characters. It is used in the output navigator screen of SPSS. Variable labels added. For example, the ID has a label. You can define any label. This makes easy for you to represent your data in your questionnaire and research. Missing values. It defines the missing values. The values are excluded from some analysis. The options up to 3 discrete missing values are given by SPSS, a range of missing values plus 1 discrete missing value. By clicking on the missing table, a table pop up like this. You will enter your discrete missing values. It can be 1 or it can be up to 3. This is how the missing value appears in the variable table. Columns and align. Columns set the amount of space reserved to display the contents of the variable in data view. Generally, the default value is added. Aligns set whether the contents of the variable appear on the left, center, or right of the cell in the data view. Numeric variables are right-hand justified by default and string variables left-hand justified by default. The defaults are generally advocate. The levels of measurement. The levels of measurement in SPSS can be nominal, ordinal, interval, or ratio. The interval and ratio are designated together as scale. The string variables are mostly have a nominal level of measurement and the numeric variables have a scale level of measurement. What are the nominal variables? Nominal variables are those in which the order of the data is not meaningful. For example, a candidate can be a smoker or a non-smoker. The answer to this can be yes or no. Your course at the university can be a math, science, economics, or English subject. It doesn't matter whether you have written math on the top or you have written English at the top. So the order of the nominal variable is not meaningful. While the second type of variable is the ordinal variable. How happy are you with the customer service? The numbers or the orders are given in the form of answers. You could be very happy, unhappy, neutral, unhappy, and very unhappy. So the order in such data is important. Scale. Scale, mostly the nominal variables have a scale. For example, please indicate your age. It could be in the form of only a numeric number. How much do you think a typical purchaser of $1 lakh term life insurance policy pays per year for that policy? Again, the answer will be in the form of a number. Once you have collected the data, you can code the data and the data code. You will convert the questions into variable. You will give a name to the variable. You will define the variable label, add the value labels, and at the end, you will define the levels of measurement. Variables can be of two types, categorical or scale. Categorical variables are qualitative and scale variables are quantitative. The categorical are further divided into nominal and ordinal. Nominal, for example, the marital status, the political party, or the eye color of a candidate, while the ordinal have some order, for example, the satisfaction level or the level of agreement. While the scale variables consist of the numeric variables, for example, height, weight, time on income, in which the answer will be in the form of number. It is essential to classify the data correctly. Incorrect classification may result in incorrect analysis. This is the SPSS variable view. For example, we have added two variables. One is the ID and the other is the age. You can continue adding the data in the SPSS variable view. Once you have entered all the data in the data variable view and the variable view of the SPSS, at the end you have to save the file. The file must always be saved in order to save the work that has been done to date. First, you will save the file, you will move to the target directory, you will enter a file name, and then you will save. This window will pop up. You will give a file name to your data, and then you'll click the save button and your file will be automatically saved. Recent updates. Evaluating ChatGPT's 4.0 data analytic proficiency in epidemiological study, a comparative analysis with SASS, SPSS, and R. OpenAI Chat Generative Pre-trained Transformer, which is commonly known as ChatGPT, is an emerging artificial intelligence-based large language model. This has been receiving increasing attention from the medical research community for its innovative data analyst feature. We aim to compare the capabilities of ChatGPT against the traditional biostatistical softwares, including SPSS, in statistically analyzing epidemiological research data. In descriptive statistics, ChatGPT showed high consistency of results, greater analytical efficiency of code or operations, and more intuitive user friendliness compared to SPSS. In intergroup comparison and correlation analysis, despite minor discrepancies in statistical outcomes for certain analysis tasks, ChatGPT maintained high analytical efficiency and exceptional user friendliness. Thus, employing ChatGPT can significantly lower the operational threshold for conducting epidemiological data analysis. At the end of the study, they found the ChatGPT to be a powerful auxiliary tool for statistical analysis in epidemiological research. However, it showed limitations in result consistency and in applying more advanced statistical methods. Therefore, they advocate the use of ChatGPT in supporting researchers with intermediate experience in data analysis. Multiple choice questions. MCQ number 1. While entering the data in SPSS, the researcher uses the variable view window. Which of the following activities is performed in this window? A. Viewing raw data entries. B. Analyzing the data outputs. C. Defining variables characteristics like name, type, and label, generating graphs and charts, or running regression analysis.
C.
C.
Yes, the answer is C, defining variable characteristics like name, type, and MCQ 2. A student wants to categorize participants into underweight, normal weight, and overweight. He wants to put this data into SPSS. This is the example of which level of measurement? A, nominal, B, ordinal, C, interval, D, ratio, or E, continuous?
B, ordinal.
Yes, the answer is ordinal because these three should be the order of the data. MCQ number 3. You're working on an SPSS project involving a large data set from a community health survey. You want to directly enter, edit, and view the individual participants' response, such as their age, gender, and reported number of clinic visits, row by row and variable by variable. Which SPSS window should you primarily use for this task? A. Output Navigator. B. Data View. C. Syntax Editor. D. Variable View. Or E. Chart Builder.
B.
Yes, the answer is Data View. MCQ number 4. In a health survey conducted among university students, a variable reported responses to the question, have you ever smoked at least one cigarette in your lifetime? With coding 0 is equal to no, 1 is equal to yes. Considering the nature of the data and coding method, how should this variable best be classified for data entry and analysis in SPSS? A, ordinal, B, nominal, C, ratio, D,
Nominal.
ratio, scale, and E, string.
B.
Ordinal.
Nominal. Nominal.
Yes, the answer is B, nominal. MCQ number 5. Which of the following best describes the appropriate level of measurement for the monthly salary variable in SPSS? ID, age, gender, comments. Which of the following best describe the location in SPSS where you should define the properties? A, data view, B, output view, C, variable view, D, chart editor, or D, data editor.
Variable view.
Charlie.
Yes, the answer is C, variable view. MCQ number 6. Mr. Asim conducted a cross-sectional nationwide survey on the COVID-19 prevalence and predictors in Lahore adults during peak stay-at-home orders. He wants to define the characteristic of research variables. Which data editor view he will use in SPSS? A, data view, B, variable view, C, pivot table editor, D, chart editor, or E, text output editor.
Beta.
A.
The answer is B, variable view. MCU number 7. You are tasked with entering responses from a community health survey into SPS. Before any participant data can be entered into the system, it is critical to set up the structure that defines the characteristics of each variable, such as its name, type, labels, and measurement level. According to the standard SPSS data entry process described in the presentation, what is the first essential step before entering any actual data in the data set? For example, the option is A, analyze the data, B, save the file, C, define each variable properties in variable view, D, run descriptive statistics, or E, open output navigator.
Charlie. C. C.
Yes, the answer is C, define each variable's properties in variable view. MCQ number 8. Mr. Harris conducted a research on the effect of age on mortality in patients with COVID-19. He collected open-ended with numerical response question on the effect of age is as follows. What is the age of the patient with COVID-19 into years? Which level of measurement is this? A, nominal, B, ordinal, C, scale, D, interval, or E, ratio?
Nominal. C.
Yes, the answer is C.
Charlie.
MCQ number 9. You have just completed entering and coding a large dataset in SPSS for an epidemiological study. You want to ensure your data is saved correctly for the future analysis, sharing with collaborators, and possible use in other statistical software. You also want to maintain all the variable definitions, value labels, and data formatting. Which of the following actions and file type best preserve your SPSS dataset with all its variable properties and allow for easy future use and sharing within SPSS? A, save the file using the File Save As option and choose the SAV extension. B, export the data as a CSV file. C, save the file as an Excel file. Or D, use File Save As and select the portable format. Or E, copy and paste the data in a Word document and save as doc.
A है या D है? D I think या A है?
Yeah.
A लग रहा है.
The answer is A, save the file using the file option of save and choose the save extension. MCQ number 10. A public health researcher is entering the data into SPSS for a study on employee well-being. The dataset includes the following variables: employee ID, department, monthly salary, job satisfaction, age. After importing the data, the researcher wants to ensure that each variable is set to the correct level of measurement in SPSS. Which of the following best describe the appropriate level of measurement for the monthly salary variable in SPSS? A, nominal, B, ordinal, C, scale, D, ratio, or E, interval?
C.
Charlie.
Yes, the answer is C, scale. This is the key to the MCQs. This is the YouTube channel where the presentation will be uploaded. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
This is a very nice presentation. There are certain strengths about it, and yes, there are always opportunities to improve. First, let me tell you the strengths of your today's presentation. A very important topic has been discussed because SPSS is the basic tool and skill that must be learned by each and every researcher. And no research is possible without having a command on very important tools. And one of those tools is presented today. Variable view, data view, all the charts, and how the analysis part is incorporated in each of important slides that is so importantly presented today. The best thing is that today we have discussed the scenario based MCQs, and these MCQs are very well designed, and the clear options are with the distractors, so that everybody has to think for a while before getting to the correct option. So very well done, very good MCQs have been presented with clear scenarios that we faced almost every day while we are dealing with research. The second important thing is that I want to emphasize is, anybody tell me what is SPSS stands for and what is the newest version of it? Anybody from the class?
Ma'am, it stands for social sciences.
Statistical package for
Statistics.
yes, and we have the latest or the newest version that is released in 2025. Whenever there is a new version, there is always certain improvements in it. And now we are looking into the latest version or the newest version with artificial intelligence component into it. So this is a very important gadget. Second, very important thing is for Dr. Nabeela, would you like to tell me what is the recent advances that you would like to share with us?
Ma'am, the recent advances which I have added is the comparability between the AI softwares which have been generated, for example, the ChatGPT and its comparability with SPSS. Although ChatGPT is more precise and more informative, but yet it has certain limitations. So we should use ChatGPT for helping us, not for doing all the data. Although we can collect the data, but there are certain limitations. So once we enter the data and analyze manually in SPSS, it is more authentic and it is more finalized as compared to the chat GPT.
Dr. Nabeela, I think your connection is
Yes,
not
ma'am.
the strong one, right? So there are weak signals. That's why we have lost your voice in the mid. The most important part that I want to emphasize here is that the statistical package of social scientist has released its last or its newest version in 2025, where there is plugin for artificial intelligence too. So the chat GPT, as you have described, it is one of a very good data analysis tool. And we have checked in 2023 that the data was analyzed by SPSS later version at that time, and we checked it for the chat GPT and we found the same results. However, the latest and newest version has the plugin for artificial intelligence. So you should add this also in your slides. Numbers, another for all the participants, please. These classes are for your professional development. We can read everything, we can listen to many things individually, but whenever we are in the class, the group wisdom and collective thought processes should be incorporated in order to get the better professional development for yourself. So I would like, please, either mute your mic or make a comfortable place for yourself so that there is not a disturbance while we are discussing any important thing. So this is one of the request. And Dr. Nabeela, please add few slides on the newest version of SPSS in your presentation. Otherwise, it is a very good presentation, very well done, and I am so proud of you. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Inshallah,
Thank you,
ma'am, I'll
ma'am.
add the slides.
Thank you, ma'am.